Households in the south of the country face paying quite a lot more for electricity under plans being considered by the government, with the prices being determined by the supply and demand in each area.
So supporters say it could cut bills overall, while opponents argue, of course, that it will create a postcode lottery on our bills. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband joins us now. A very good morning to you. Lots to talk to you about. Talk to us about this, though, this regional pricing idea. How far along the line are you? And essentially, how can it possibly be fair that those perhaps in Scotland, where there is an abundance of wind energy, would end up paying a lot less for their electricity usage than people in the south?
Well, first of all, Ranveer, it's copper-bottomed nonsense, as the Telegraph is apparently saying, that we've made a decision on this. And we're still looking very carefully at it, first point. Secondly, it wouldn't be fair to jack up prices in one part of the country and then suddenly cut them dramatically in another. Any reform we will make will be about cutting bills across the country. And I'm absolutely determined to do this. And we're going to take our time over this. There's different views in the industry. Lots of people are at odds about it. But my bottom line is any reform we make, if it's going to cut bills, it's got to cut bills across the country and not have a postcode lottery.
So that's an absolutely clear-cut reply, a very clear-cut answer. There is no prospect of people living in, say, Winchester and Exeter paying any more for their electricity or gas than somebody living in Glasgow or Edinburgh. Not
well,
going to happen,
at the moment, Richard, some people pay more than other people already. But what I'm saying to you is that any reform we would make, if it's about cutting bills, and it's got to be about cutting bills, in my view, is going to cut bills across the country, not have a postcode lottery where we suddenly jack up bills in one part of the country.
Couldn't be clearer. Let's talk about net zero. You've got countries like China building more and more coal-fired power stations. You've got a new president in America with the slogan "Drill, baby, drill," and a complete climate skeptic. The fact of the matter is that our carbon emissions are minuscule compared to, say, China's and America's, and increasingly America's. And yet it's British people who are going to be paying the price for net zero. Should we be stepping back a little from that deadline?
That's not the way I see it, Richard. So today we're announcing £300 million for Great British Energy to invest in factories to manufacture parts for offshore wind, matched by the private sector. It's going to create jobs for welders and engineers and construction workers. And that is part of the fundamental truth here, which is, first of all, this clean energy transition is about a massive economic opportunity, which lots of countries, including China, by the way, are leaping into and are fighting for, and we should fight for it too. Secondly, we can only have energy security if we get off fossil fuels. Why did prices go through the roof when Russia invaded Ukraine? They went through the roof because we're dependent on those fossil fuel markets controlled by petrostates and dictators. Unless we have homegrown clean energy, we'll never get off that situation and we'll never cut bills. And the last point is, it's the right thing to do for future generations. But this is not just about climate, this is about energy security and good jobs and growth.
But you can still have those policies, can't you, without careering towards zero carbon emissions by 2050. Whilst that was a noble aim, there is a lot of mood music. I mean, Nigel Farage said yesterday that Britain should not have any policies at all that are intended to tackle the climate crisis. Of course, many might disagree with that. But the point he's making, as has already been said, is that the British people will pay the price and the effect overall on the climate will be minuscule. So the cost-benefit analysis of net zero for the British public just doesn't hold up at this stage.
That's just wrong, Ranveer. I just fundamentally disagree with Nigel Farage. And to be honest, he's got an ideological and extreme view, and he's trying to use anything to try and pretend that this is about putting up prices. Why did prices go up? I go back to this point, when Russia invaded Ukraine, because of fossil fuels. There's only one answer to this. Because we're in the control of these global markets, there's only one answer to this, which is homegrown clean energy we control. So the case for action on clean energy is not just the old case of climate, which I believe in, it's the new case for energy security. If we have that wind power, that solar power, that nuclear power, we control it. We control the price. At the moment, we're on that roller coaster of the fossil fuel markets, which we don't control and which are controlled by dictators like Putin. And that's where Farage would leave us. He'd leave us in the grip of Putin. Putin's boot on our throat. I don't think that's what the British people want.
Well, let's skip from across the pond, from Putin to Trump. You're in the Labour government. What does the Labour government do with the policies that you're espousing here and following through here, with an American president who is a climate change denier in a way we've not seen in the White House until now? How do you deal with a president who says that everything that you're saying is nonsense and that man is not responsible for rising temperatures and the change in the climate? How do you deal with someone like that?
Here's the answer, Richard. He pursues his national interest, and he was duly elected by the American people to do that as he sees fit, and we pursue ours. And then we seek to find common ground. There are some things that we can work together on. Nuclear power, for example. They're not doing it for climate reasons, but the US administration believes in nuclear power, for example. We should cooperate with them on that. But, you know, we've got this big international summit happening, 60 countries around the world, in the next couple of days. The vast majority of countries are seeing, as I do, the move to clean energy as the right thing to do because they see the energy security benefits of it and they see the economic benefits. Just to give you one fact, 80% of the new investments last year were in renewables and nuclear, not in fossil fuels. That is, despite President Trump, that is the direction in which the world is going.
All right. Ed Miliband, thank you so much. Energy
Thank
Secretary, live
Thank you
on
for your time.
Good Morning Britain. Now,